Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. Normally we don't do 3 videos in one day, but there was some new music that came out last week. Yeah, maybe about a week and a half ago from Seven Spires. And I've enjoyed most of what I've heard from them, and I was excited to dig into this new one, and I don't feel like waiting another week to listen to it. So we're going to dive in. This track is called Architect of Creation. I don't know if there's concept album stuff going on for this. I've only listened to one of their albums. Was it their first one? I don't remember anymore. We did a whole album reaction for it though. So I'm just going to dive into this and hope with any luck I can make any sense of the lyrics after we get done discussing the music. Let's dive in, see what Seven Spires is bringing to the table today. Quick little 4 here, or 3, might be a 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Love that violin line on top of everything. Yeah, the bass is. I love punk rhythms and black metal. I know that. Oh, dude, that bass lick. I know there's a connection between the two, but it just happens so rarely in my experience. That rising chord progression. Oh, the string stingers. The halftime with the vocals is like this big explosion that just sort of like shakes the core of everyone. That all the energy has been dismissed, repurposed. Yeah, I love that vocal layering. Rule of cool pedal tone usage on this riff. Dude, the bass is just going off. Like, I really want to listen to those beautiful strings, but I can't not focus on that bass. Ooh, that little half-step rise. Lots of tension. Almost like, was it a oh man. I suppose we had stuck in that for a second. Or at least built on it. All the piano arpeggiation. I know it's just piano arpeggiation, but I will never not think about the Final Fantasy theme whenever I hear that. Lots of great tom work here to push the energy forward alongside the tension of the chord progression. Oh, okay. I thought you were just going to repeat the phrase, "I the architect," instead of repeating the whole chorus. What is going on with that? That's a single-handed ride cymbal thing, isn't it? What's that, like blast beats on the bell of the ride cymbal? What in the I can't even speak. Kind of flabbergasted, but I mean, I feel like I talked a lot about the vocals and the bass and the drums, and like, yeah, that's where a lot of my focus was. I ain't gonna lie. The just constantly fantastic stuff coming out of all three of those musicians. But yeah, the guitarists were doing well too, pulling off the. Oh, I did mention a couple of riffs, so it's not like I completely dismissed what the guitars were bringing. Um, yeah, the guitars were great too. They just weren't what caught my attention a majority of the time. And even if those three instruments that did were doing something that I wasn't quite on board with, or maybe I had already heard, I was ready to move on to something else, there was always the symphonic element of this, the strings and the brass that show up from time to time and add and embellish to what the song is doing. So there's so much to focus on other than the guitars, and to be fair, you need something in the mix to be the glue, to be the foundation. And I found that the guitars playing chords, tended to be that foundation for everything to get built on. Because without that, you just have a structure, a very cool structure that's floating on nothing. You need that foundation, and so that happened to be the guitars on this track for the most part. Again, not all the time. There were some really cool riffs in here, some nice licks. But there was also a lot of guitars riffing on chords. So what did I focus on? Okay, bass, right? Dude, what is up with this bassist? Just two-handed tapping all the time. At first I thought I heard it, but I was like, I don't know. It was a little light in the mix. And then they showed video, and he's just over here, just. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm listening for it, and it is everywhere. This dude, he just took this whole song to say, hey, look how cool I am. Look how much I practice. And like, yeah, I'm all for that. I'll usually dismiss that on other instruments, especially more prominent instruments. Guitar is showing off. Yeah, I'm going to be kind of hit and miss on that. Sometimes I'll praise it. Sometimes I'll be like, dude, could we rein that back in a little bit? But for bass, it happens so rarely. I don't even care if it benefits the song. I'm just like, that bassist was sick. In this case, though, it does benefit the song. Usually when the bassist is going for those faster 16th note ideas, it's within a section that is usually moving a bit slower. We hear it during the chorus when we have the vocals belting out this slower melody, ba 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 ba, something along those lines. The drums are kind of reining it in a little bit after some more of the blast beats or the crazier ideas. The guitars are chord progression duty. So yeah, there's not a lot of movement. Even when we look at the symphonic elements, we tend to have a lot of chords coming from the strings too, or little embellishing ideas. So there is plenty of room for just this quick movement coming from the bassist. So it's not like it's just hapdashedly thrown in and ruining the song in any way. Every time I think that I heard the bass doing it, it was complimentary. I think the only other time that I heard it was when everybody was just kind of going off there at the end, and it's just chaotic. And yeah, 16th notes from the bass is going to help chaos. That is 100% a positive component to putting that in there. So yeah, the bassist is just sick. Even when he's not doing those faster runs, there's just some really cool licks, walking bass lines, rising ideas, some arpeggiation. The bassist is just never really doing anything boring. And I find that to be a fascinating shift from the norm when it comes to metal bands, especially symphonic metal bands, which you would think would be the place where bass actually get to shine, since they have somebody who is typically a composer with a little bit of classical background. You figure these people want to make metal with strings and choirs and brass, you would have a different background than metal for writing music, and you would understand the importance of a bass presence in your song. But it's still, inside symphonic metal, it's still just not something you see too often, which is a shame. So, I mean, I'm putting a lot of weight on the Seven Spires bassist to carry excellent bass lines forward in metal. I'm sorry if that's too much weight for you, but I will continue to look out for your excellent bass lines as I listen to your band. The drums. I really love the drum work in here. There's a ton of variety. There's some melodic ideas. We had that beautiful tom idea when we brought everything down, and we're building it back up, moving into the final chorus. Just a really cool tom and snare idea. Little bit of cymbals. It was really for embellishment. We had blast beats in here. We had whatever that ride cymbal thing was at the end. There were some cool fills throughout all of this. Some really nice grace notes on the snare and really tight snare rolls as accents, putting like 4 snare hits in eighth note. Just like these really tight groupings of 4 to help accentuate maybe something someone else is doing, especially on those string stingers where the strings go bop, ba-dap, those really short lines coming in the chorus. I think, and brass joined in on some of this too. Orchestral stingers is more the generic term for it. But we'd get these very quick, tight snare rolls on those too. Beautiful way to help accent that stuff. Just a lot of clever ideas coming from the drummer. I don't really need to say anything about the vocalist, do I? I'm pretty sure when we checked out Gods of Debauchery, is that what the album was called? I already sang my praises about the vocalist. For better or worse, I have nothing different to say about the vocals on this track than I did then. There is so much dexterity here. It is wild. We have forward placed rockier stuff. We have more back of the mouth placed operatic ideas, although those are rarer than I think I've heard in another Seven Spires track. A lot of this was more forward projection, pop, rock kind of stuff. We also had those higher black metal nasally harshes. We had the throatier growls, and we had the heavy metal belting, but with a heavy dose of natural compression. I have no idea how this was done safely. I'm going to assume it was, because it's one thing to unsafely, dangerously put clean vocals with false chord distortion, right? There's a lot of ways to screw that up. I'm not a vocalist, and I know that you don't want to mix those two unless you know what you're doing. But then to put that also at that high of a range, that just says this is not sustainable. And the fact that she does it multiple times, I'm going to assume that she's found a way to do it sustainably. And I know that she's done this in the past, sort of like a Fry Scream Belt combination. We checked out a couple of times in Gods of Debauchery, but I don't think she ever hit a note quite like that. And I find this to be a bit more impressive, simply because it is that much higher. I honestly don't know where her limit is, and it wouldn't surprise me if next album she finds a higher note to do this on. It's mind-boggling. As far as vocal composition, I really love the flexibility of the vocal delivery, the ways that they get changed up, the ebb and flow of the song as far as how the vocals control the song and where we're going, how each section feels, but also the layering of the vocals at times. Just fantastic all the way around. I guess the last thing would be just the general flow of the song. We had a verse, chorus, bridge chorus idea throughout here. Some of those sections were expanded a bit. The bridge had like 2 or 3 sections in it. And I think our first verse was a bit longer than our second verse, or maybe that was the opposite. There's a little bit of a variation on one of those. Um, and then we had the outro was 2 of the choruses where one was cut short just a bit and had a slight change at the end in order to create a half coda so that we could repeat it without missing the fact that we were really, when she says, I, the architect or something, there's a real big leading tone there for her to move to that next note. And when she repeats the chorus, she actually changes some of the notes in that line so that the repetition, going back to the beginning of it, doesn't feel abnormal, because it absolutely would have. We're pointing towards a specific note, and then we don't go there at all. The chorus is really defined to point towards that final big note there. And so there was a little bit of change there so that the loop back wouldn't have been odd. I like little details like that. That shows quite a bit of harmonic theory understanding from whoever writes it. I think it's the vocalist who writes the music, right? Maybe it's a group project. I don't know. I vaguely remember, though, when we checked out that album, I thought I read that she wrote most of the music. I don't remember. Either way, I love little details that show that these people know what they're doing. That's awesome. And sometimes it could just be a gut feeling. But at least in this case, I know she went to school for music. I think classical composition, right? So it shows. It really does. But yeah, so the overall structure is nice because it has that familiarity to it. Very standard structure, but there's just enough variation and alteration to ideas to make it feel a bit longer and more linear than it is, which I think really helps sell this song because it feels epic for a 5.5 minute song. Those are not usually very epic tracks. It's kind of short in the realm of metal. And they do a great job of controlling the ebb and flow of all of it and introducing these sections that are, like I said, variations or expansions on ideas, so that there's a nice continuity between everything, making it feel like a sum that's larger than its parts. Is that how that phrase goes? It feels like a 7, 8, 9 minute song, even though it's compressed down into 5.5. It's just paced and written exceptionally well to have maximum impact in the most efficient time frame. I don't know any other way to word that. It blows my mind. It's one of those songs where so little time passed, even though it felt like it was so long, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Maybe that's why, I don't know, maybe Seven Spires are time wizards. I don't know either. Let's dive into some lyrics and see what's going on there. Alright, we have a song about somebody who has died and has found that in their death they have taken on the role of a deity. It says, finally the sun has set on my eternal eve, but with immortal life comes solemn responsibility. And it speaks about how they feast only on souls or the dead. They talk about consuming husks. And the pre-chorus says, fear me, love me, do as I say, for I will be the keeper of your soul to whom you pray. Definitely a god talking down to the people saying, yo, you do what I say, everything goes good, right? Very, very godlike. The chorus basically puts all this into perspective. Death was never so empowering. The lost are mine for the devouring. The world of drowned is mine to shape. I, the architect of creation. So I have control to craft this world however I want. There's souls in it, and they're mine for devouring. And this is me. I'm the god of this place. I was right, though. The first verse is longer than the second. It's technically broken up into verse 1, 2, chorus, verse 3, chorus. I just read it as a double verse 1. It really doesn't matter. But I was right in remembering that. I just couldn't remember which one was longer. Verse 3 says, I could paint this world as the scenery of my soul, just consume the light of life so I never grow old. I'll be their savior should they wish it to be saved. All that they require or desire just be named. I'll do what I can for them. I'll be a good God as long as you, as the pre-chorus then states, fear me, love me, do as I say. The bridge talks about how this person megalomaniacally feasts forevermore. There's definitely the power is going to their head here. It says with every wish that they grant, whether it's their wish or one of the followers, it says that their humanity is in sharp decline, that cosmic power comes with an inescapable price, but they don't care. They'll be a queen in a world of their design, and that's really all that matters. There is a change of the chorus. Remember I mentioned the final chorus has gone through twice. There's actually a change of lyrics on the second time. It says, "The days are gone of crying and cowering. I'll bury both my pride and shame, I, the architect of creation." So it seems that not only is this power entrancing and consuming, and they're being enthralled by it and using it, and even though they see their humanity lost with every use of the power, they don't care. It shows that they were very powerless in their mortal life, and that's why this is all so enticing for them. I think that's pretty cool. I feel like there's a lot of stuff I missed in the musical analysis now that I'm starting to think back on it, but the song's getting a bit distant for me to remember details. I know I didn't talk too much about the orchestral stuff, but as usual, I love it. I think they do a fantastic job embedding not just the sound of classical music, but classical elements into the music. It's not just about using the instruments of an orchestra, but about using them in ways that would typically be used in music played by an orchestra. And that once again goes back to, I believe, the vocalists as education and them bringing that element into this metal project. But again, I don't remember any details that I would want to bring up for that, unfortunately. But yeah, so, I mean, that wraps it up for me. I enjoyed this track. I'm going to be looking forward to the album when it comes out this year. I don't know when it comes out. Just 2024, right? If someone knows the actual release date, I want to put it on my radar, but as of right now, I'm only seeing 2024, which is a bit of a shame. All right. Like I said, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know if you enjoyed this, if there was anything that stood out to you. I had a bad cough there. Anything that stood out to you, anything that you would want to add on to what I said or correct me on or anything like that. Maybe you just have your own thoughts, opinions, or perspectives about this track. Maybe you just have the release date of this album. Put all that stuff down in the comment section for me. I read all of the comments and I'll reply where I think I have something to add. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. I feel like I'm talking really fast here, and I don't know why. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC. As usual, we're going to check out 2 whole albums. They're going to come out at the same time. Choose your album adventure. Choose your own album, whatever. You can pick which one you want to check out. One's Cardiacs. I think the other one is a metal album. Whichever one works better for you, listen to it. If you like them both, listen to them both. Probably not simultaneously, but if you want to get into that auditory cluster, go for it. Who am I to tell you how to watch my videos? Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.